Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karunya Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karunya Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Bande Guru Shri Charunarobindam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Bande Guru Shri Charunarobindam Bande Guru Shri Charunarobindam Bande Guru Shri Charunarobindam Mahaprabhu ki Tananita Gita Varitramadya Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu ki Tananita Gita Varitramadya Manasura Sena Ramanchakampasru Taranga Bhajo Bande Guru Shri Charanarobindam Romanchakam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringaratanama Diramajanadu Juktasya bhaktam sa niyunjatopi Bande Guru Shri Charanarobindam Juktasya bhaktam sa niyunjatopi Bande Guru Shri Charanarobindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasadu Satmana Truptam Hari Bhakta Sangam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Satmana Truptam Hari Bhakta Kridvaiva Trupti Bhajato Shadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanarobindam Kridvaiva Trupti Bhajato Shadeva Vande Guru Shri Shiradhikama Dabayara Para Madhurya Lila Gunarupa Namna Shiradhikama Dabayara Para Madhurya Pratikshana Swa Danalalopasya Bande Guru Shri Charanarobindam Pratikshana Danalalopasya Nikunja Yuno Ratikeliti Jai Jayali Vir Yuki Apekshaniya Tatrati dacha ativalabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Tatrati dacha ativalabhasya Vande Guru Shri Satchadaridvena Shamasta Shashri Ruktastathava Yataiva Sadhuvin Satyadaridvena Shashri Ruktastathava Into Prabhoja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vindam Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasada Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasada Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutapi Jayam Stubam Tasya Yasatrin Sanyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vindam Vande Guru Shri Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Vrindam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Sarasvate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Vachatari Shatarine Sarasvate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Vachatari Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Gaur Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hariyaraya Namah Krishna Jadavaya Namah Jadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namah Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Jai Om Vishnu Paramansa Prabhajaka Suttara Sarashishi Maharaj His Divine Grace Abhacharvina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Pratishta Bhiviti Samstapakacharya Vaishnava Siromani Patitu Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patitu Udhari Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai Ananta Kuri Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Se Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gauru Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai Jai Param Dayal Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Premanama Sankirtane Ka Janaka Prima Purushottama Shri Sachinandan Shriman Gauranga Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Guru Hari Mahavrana Avatar Ki Jai Golokira Pramadhan Harinam Sankirtan Jaya Ki Jai Juga Dharma Hari Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai Brihat Nidanga Transcendental Books Distribution Seva Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Kupina Radha Kunsama Kungiri Raj Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Prajabhim Vrindavana Mathura Dham Ki Jai The Lordship Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadup Eka Chakra Dham Ki Jai Parama Karuna Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Shri Purushottam Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Swami Paladev Prabhu Smaspadra Dev Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan Ki Jai Jaganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Vrine Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Sister Ram Lakshman Bhaktanuman Ji Ki Jai Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kanishingare Bhagavan Ki Jai Shri Mati Radharani Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinde Ki Jai Nitai Gaurari Pramanande All glories to the assembly bodies All glories to the assembly bodies All glories to the assembly bodies All glories All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari.
Namaste Narasimhaya
Pralada da ya ine Hiranyakashipu Vaksha हिरण्यकशिपुर्वक्षा Silatang kanakalay Ito nisinggo para to nisinggo Ito nisinggo para to nisinggo Jato jato jami tato nisingga Bayi nisingga rudaye nisingga Narasingha madim sarana prapade Tabakara kamalavare nakam advuta singha dalita hiranyakasipu tanavinga kisabadrita naradirupa jai jagadisare Jai Jagadishare Jai Jagadishare Jaya Nisingade Jaya Nisingade Jaya Nisingade Ngade Jaya Nisingade Jaya Bhakta Prala Bhakta Prala Bhakta Prala Jaya Prala Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jai, Jai, Jai. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namo Srimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo. Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo. Radha Krishna Seva Prabhu Hey Abhilasi Radha Krishna Seva Prabhu Hey Abhilasi Je tomara saranala tar vancha purna Tumi kripa kare karatare Vrindavana vasi Mora ella vila, velas kunje diyava. Aminayane ribosada jugala guparasi. Eni vedana dara sakirayano gatakara sevayade karadiye karani jadasi Dina Krishna dasika enamora Dina Krishna dasika enamora Sri Radha Govinda Preme Sadayana Vasi Sri Radha Govinda Preme Sadayana Vasi Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo Jani kani sapapani Brahmatyadi kanisa Tani tani pranasante Pradakshina pade pade Janikani sapapani Brahmatyadi kanisa Tane tane pranasante pradakshina pade pade. Kani kani sapapane brahma pade kani sa. Tane tane pranasante pradakshina pade pade. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Tulsi Maharani. Jaya Brinda Devi Jaya, Brinda Devi Jaya, Brinda Devi Jaya, Brinda Devi. Nitai Gaura Haribam, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribam. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devi, Priya Kesava Satya, Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi, Satavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Srimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai. Oh Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you has wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavana. My desire is that you also give me a residence, pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision, I will always behold beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kavadamises of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. May I always sing the love of Shri Radha and Govinda. Shri Mati Tulasi Maharani Devi ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sri Krishna Sankirtan movement is a primary addiction to humanity at large. God is praised and raised in the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental moon. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully test the nectar for which we always anxious. Oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all the benediction to living things. And thus we have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energy. It is not even hard and possible to chanting these names. Oh my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself the Lord on a strolling street, one should be more tolerant than the tree, give all those sense of power prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause of devotion service. O Son of Maharajananda Krishna, I am your eternal servant. Dear son of Adha, falling this ocean of birth and death, please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me in one of the islands of your lotus feet. O my Lord, from my eyes will be great tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name. Will my voice choke up, and will the hairs on my body stand on the end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering moments to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if hundreds of right ways and grace. What makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me? He is completely free from anything and everything, but he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri 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 Kyastakam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that must be avoided. They are as follows. 1. Blasphemy voice, forgetting that life, forgetting the holy name of the Lord. 2. Because the names of the demigods that are Shiva or some interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. 7. Make simple activities with strength chant the holy name of the Lord. 8. Consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which offer in the Vedas exclusive activity karma kami. 9. Instruct the followers person with glorious the holy name. And 10. Do not have complete faith in chanting the holy names and within material attachments, give not understanding so many instructions in this matter. It also unoffensive in a chanting while chanting. Every devotee who claims the Vaishnava must carefully guard against offenses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna plan. Now let us offer our respectful obeisance to the Vaishnavas, devoted to the Lord. They are just like a giant tree that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they're full of compassion for the following persons. Satyam Param Mahi. O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
Meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he's the absolute truth.
I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute
And the
truth.
primeval cause of all causes.
And the primeval cause of all causes.
Of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of manifested universe.
Of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universe.
He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations.
He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations.
And he's independent because there's no other cause beyond him.
And he is independent because there's no other cause beyond him.
He's the only who first imparted the great knowledge of the Brahman.
He's the only who first imparted the great knowledge of Brahmaji.
The original living being.
The original living being.
By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion.
By him, the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion.
As one is bewildered by the illusory representations
As one is bewildered by the illusion
of water seen on fire or land seen on water.
the water seen the fire, land seen,
Only because of him do the material universes,
only because of him do the material
temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature,
temporarily manifested by the reaction of the modes of nature,
appear factual, although they are unreal.
appear factual, although they are unreal.
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna,
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna,
who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode,
who is eternally existent in the transcendental world,
which is forever free from the illusory representations
forever free from the illusory
of the material world.
and material world.
I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute
Dharma projita akaitavocha.
Dharma Gurujita Kaitavutta.
Paramo nirmatsaranam satam.
Dharmo Nirmasharanam
Vedyam vastavamacha vastu.
Vidam Vastavamashravasti.
Shivadam tapa trayon mulanam.
Anam Tapatrayamanam.
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite.
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite.
Kim va purer Ishvaraha.
Kumva Pradivishara.
Sadyo hridi avarudyate tra.
Sajoritya Vadiditi.
Kriti bihi sususabistakshanat.
Kriti Sushu.
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated.
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are material.
This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth,
This Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth,
which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart.
which is understandable by those who are fully pure in
The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all.
The highest truth, the reality
Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in its maturity is sufficient in self for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam sukhamukad amrita dravya samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam muhur ahoraskabu vibhavakaha. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired truth of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful. Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantaksto hi abhadrani Vidunati Sahitsatam. To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best-wishing friend, and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. Nastapresu abhatresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalobhadayaschaye cheta etar anavidam stitvam sattve prasidhati. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance. And thus material lust and avarice are diminished. Evam prasana manaso bhagavat bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva samsaya shiyante chasya karmani drista evatmanishvare. Thus Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of a samsayam samagram, understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth Personality of Godhead. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 19, verse number 11. Anye cha devarsi brahmarsi varya rajarsi varya anun anadayascha arunadayascha nanashriya pravaran sametam Abhyarcha Raja Sirasa Vavande. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. There were also many other saintly demigods, kings, and special royal orders called Arundayas, a special rank of Rajarsis, from different dynasties of sages. When they all assembled together to meet the emperor, Parikshit, he received them properly and bowed his head to the ground. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The system of bowing the head to the ground to show respect to superiors is an excellent etiquette which obliges the honored guest deep into the heart. Even the first grade offender is excused simply by this process. And Maharaj Parikshit, although honored by all the rishis and kings, welcomed all the big men in that humble etiquette in order to be excused from any offenses. Generally, at the last stage of one's life, this humble method is adopted by every sensible man in order to be excused before departure. In this way, Maharaja Parikshit implored everyone's goodwill for going back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Maharaj Parikshit was a perfect devotee and gentleman. Therefore, he was not puffed up. He understood that this whole arrangement is the mercy of the Lord, especially meant to free him from all material attachments so that he could go back to Godhead without any impediment. That's the correct understanding. People, of course, when there's adverse events that take place that impact them, they say, well, I've been praying every day, and I've been putting tithing in the donation box, and I feed the poor sometimes, and I do this, and I go on pilgrimage. Why is this happening to me? This is not fair. I did not deserve this. God must not be such a nice person. So, just like when there was this, I think it was an earthquake in Maharashtra, the Indian news interviewed one businessman, and they asked him, well, what do you think about all this? And he said, I think that our God is no good. And he said, what? He said, yes, we are worshipping Ganapati every day. I pay one Brahmin that comes to my shop, and I open up this little altar I have, and I pay him every day to do puja. So my business does well. And now this earthquake has come and destroyed my business. I don't think our gods are any good. Do you remember that? Was there earth? Well, you see, I'm a little more attentive than you are about these things. So no, this actually happened. So his point was that, he's paying this brahmana, who's a nonsense also, to come and do some materialistic puja for him in the shop. Is that a normal thing in India? Yeah. Here also, no, you're right. Here also, people have asked me to do that for them. Here also, yeah. I did it for one Punjabi family that had a 7-Eleven in West Seattle. They opened up a 7-Eleven, right? And after I did that, I said, I'm never going to do this again, right? So I go there, and we're in the shop, and they ask me to give their blessing. So it's like we do the car puja. We went around with holy water and said some mantras and chant Hare Krishna, and then we had a fire sacrifice in the shop. And I told them, I said, success or failure is not important. What's important is your dedication to Krishna. Anyway, that shop failed. They went bankrupt. And you see, that's not the point, whether it's going to be successful or failure. The point is, are they going to be Krishna conscious? Because even a Krishna conscious person sometimes is, harassed by negative things in material life. So, when everything is going all right, it's easy to be Krishna conscious. It's when everything doesn't go all right that one is tested to see if they're really Krishna conscious or not. See? So if you look, Lord Ramachandra, it looked like he was suffering for at least 13, 14 years with his wife. And Krishna himself was accused of murder, of murdering Satyajit. And they said he murdered him because it was Satyajit's brother, I think. And he murdered him. They said he murdered him in order to get the Syamantaka jewel because he was jealous of Satyajit. That's Krishna. That's 5,000 years ago. People are seeing the Supreme Personality of God. They're accusing him of being a thief and envious. Of course, Krishna cleared his name. He went and found who had killed Satyajit's brother and taken the jewel. It was a bear-like living being, a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra. And Jambavan, and he had a beautiful daughter, Jambavati. So Krishna enters this deep, dark cave. And some people came along with him, and he said, I'm going to go in the cave. I don't know what's going to happen. You don't have to wait for me. So he goes in there, and then he sees Jambavati playing with this jewel, the wonderful Shamataka jewel, which can produce any amount of opulence. And it shines almost like the sun. And so he's talking to her gently. He wants to take the jewel. And then the father comes, this gigantic, he's a giant, a bear-like being. And he says, what's going on here? He says, who are you? He doesn't recognize Krishna because his worshipable Lord was Rama. And Rama and Krishna don't exactly look alike. Rama was like green-tinted skin, whereas Krishna has a dark tinted skin. So they get into a fight, and it goes on for a long, long time, for over a month. And eventually, Jambavan realizes, I can defeat anyone, he said, but I'm not able to defeat this person. The only person I cannot defeat is Lord Rama. So maybe this person is Lord Rama, but in a different looking body. So he surrenders, and then he realizes that it is actually Lord Rama, his worshipable deity, and he offers him his daughter in marriage. And Krishna says, okay. So then he gets Jambavati as his wife, and he takes the Syamantaka jewel back to Dwarka and shows it to everyone and explains what actually happened and clears his reputation from all these slanderous people. So you see, even Krishna gets slammed by blasphemous, false accusations, but he obviously made the effort to he doesn't have to clear himself of anything, but to stop the misunderstanding that people had. So it's not surprising that all of us sometimes, at some time of our life, will experience serious downturn. It could, like Prabhupada himself, went bankrupt. His whole business went bankrupt. And it was very embarrassing. And his family were not, the family members, mainly his wife, were not really pleased with what happened. So this is explained in depth, this phenomenon. And it's explained by the verse, Yasyaham anagrinami harishe tadanam saner. It's a very important verse. It's in the 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, and it says, 10th canto, 88th chapter, 8th verse, and Prabhupada explains it, Yasyaham, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Yasyaham, Anagrinami, Harishita Danam Sanai, Tato Danam Tyajant Yasya Swajana Dukitam. And it explains that the personality of God had said, this is Krishna talking himself, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way he suffers one distress after another. And Krishna calls this his especially, this is his special favor to the devotee. So Prabhupada says that when he was a grihasta, he knew about this verse, but it made him shudder. And he thought, my God, I hope this never happens to me. Because it's devastating for a person who has a family and children, and all of a sudden he becomes a failure. But it did happen to him. It did happen to him, and he quotes this verse. And what does Prabhupada say? He says, in the 4th canto, 22nd verse, 22nd chapter, 36th verse, he says, the Lord told Yudhisthira Maharaj that his special favor is shown to his devotee when he takes away all the devotee's material opulences. Generally, therefore, it is experienced that Vaishnavas are not very opulent in the material sense. This, by the way, this is one reason why people choose to worship Lord Shiva or Lakshmi Devi without Narayana, or Durga Mata, because they think, if I worship Krishna, I'll lose everything. But if I worship Shiva, I'll become richer and richer. Speak here, come on. Dhananjaya, are you there? Wait a minute. Let Adi Dev Prabhu fix the mic. Dhananjaya disappears every morning now because he's getting ready to go back to work on a regular basis. So he's... What? Adi Dev is our new tech guy. That was a demon passing through. Turn it on. Is it on? Turn the mic on. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Okay, speak into this microphone. Speak into this microphone.
So, Maharaj, you mentioned about the Lord Shiva, and so it just reminded one incident happened. So, my friend actually yeah. So, my friend runs a company here that Seattle Indians. Basically, it's a social media where we. So he was telling me, he went to that website, Seattle Indians. Yeah, that lady, but he's my friend's wife. Anil Batra. Yeah. So, so he was, one day I was talking to him and he was talking that, okay, he went to, there is a very famous restaurant in Bellevue called Chat House, okay. So he went to get some like advertisement, like, okay, why don't you put some your restaurant's advertisement on our website? so that you will get more customer. Oh, no. I don't want to go into that. I don't need it. I don't need it. Why? Because I have installed here Lord Shiva right here next to me, and he has a big idol of Lord Shiva. So my business is flourishing right after that. So I don't need anything, like I don't need advertisement. I don't need. It's flourishing. So that's actually. So he was saying, okay, because Lord Shiva is there, I don't need to worry about anything.
Yeah.
My business is flourishing.
Yeah, that's the point. So, Prabhupada says, the Lord told Yudhishthira Maharaj that his special favor is shown to his devotee when he takes away all the devotee's material opulences. Generally, therefore, it is experienced that Vaishnavas are not very opulent in the material sense. When a Vaishnava, a pure devotee, tries to be materially opulent, and at the same time desires to serve the Supreme Lord, his devotional service is checked. The Lord at the same time desires to serve the Supreme Lord. The Lord, in order to show him a special favor, destroys his so-called economic development and material opulences. Thus, the devotee, being frustrated in his repeated attempts at economic development, ultimately takes solid shelter under the lotus feet of the Lord. This kind of action may also be accepted as Isha Vidvam Sita Sisam, whereby the Lord destroys one's material opulences, but enriches one in spiritual understanding. In the course of our preaching work, we sometimes see that materialistic persons come to us and offer their obeisances to take blessings, which means they want more and more material opulences. If such material opulences are checked, such persons are no longer interested in offering obeisances to the devotees. Such materialistic persons are always concerned about their economic development. They offer obeisances to saintly persons or the Supreme Lord and give something in charity for preaching work with a view that they will be rewarded with further economic development. Here it is. Prabhupada nailed it. However, there's more to this. And that's explained in 10th Canto, 88th chapter, 7th verse. And it says that the devotees of the Supreme Lord experience both happiness and distress, not as consequences of material work, but as incidental effects of their loving reciprocation with the Lord. Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, his definitive treatise on the process of devotional service, explains how a Vaishnava is relieved of all karmic reactions, including those that have not yet begun to manifest. Those are called aparabdha. Those that are just about to manifest, called kutam or kuta. Those that are barely manifesting, bijam. And those that have manifested fully, parabdha. As a lotus gradually loses its many petals, so a person who takes shelter of devotional service has all his karmic reactions destroyed. That devotional service to Lord Krishna eradicates all karmic reactions is confirmed in this passage of the Gopala Tapani Shruti, or Gopala Tapani Upanishad, Purva 15. Bhaktir asya bhajanam tad iha mutro bhadi nairasyena musmin manakalpanam itad eva naiskarmyam. Devotional service is the process of worshiping the Supreme Lord. It consists of fixing the mind upon Him by becoming disinterested in all material designations, both in this life and the next. It results in the dissolution of all karma. Then it continues. While it is certainly true that those who practice devotional service remain in material bodies and apparently material situations for some time, this is simply an expression of the inconceivable mercy of the Lord. who bestows the fruits of devotion only when it has become pure. That's the point right there. In every stage of devotion, however, the Lord watches over his devotee and sees to the gradual elimination of his karma. Thus, despite the fact that the happiness and distress devotees experience resemble ordinary karmic reactions, they are in fact given by the Lord himself. As the Bhagavatam 10:87-40 states, Bhavad Utta Subhasubayo, a mature devotee recognizes the superficially good and bad conditions he encounters as signs of the direct guidance of his ever well-wishing Lord. In other words, good or bad things that happen in material life are all bad. They're all bad, because both good or bad results to our work bind us to the cycle of birth and death, because we have to come back to get the good results as well as get the bad results. And it continues, but if the Lord is so compassionate to his devotee, why does he expose him to special suffering? This is answered by an analogy. A very affectionate father takes the responsibility of restricting his children's play and making them go to school. He knows that this is a genuine expression of his love for them, even if the children fail to understand. Similarly, the Supreme Lord Vishnu is mercifully strict with all his dependents, not only with immature devotees struggling to become qualified. Even perfect saints like Prahlada, Dhruva, and Yudhishthira were subjected, and of course you can add in Parikshit Maharaj, were subjected to great tribulations, all for their glorification. After the battle of Kurukshetra, Sri Bhisma Deva described to King Yudhishthira his wonder at this. Yatra dharmasuto raja gada panir vikodara Krishna Sri Gandivam Chapam Suhit Krishnas Tato Vipat. Anyway, and so forth. And he's saying, Bhisma is saying, to describe King Yudhishthira, he says, oh, how wonderful is the influence of inevitable time. So that means the Kala Chakra. Kala Chakra is Krishna, actually. It is irreversible. Otherwise, how can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhishthira, the son of the demigod controlling religion? That means he's the son of Yamaraj. Bhima, the great fighter, in other words, he's the son of Yamaraj. Bhima, the great fighter with a club, the great bowman Arjuna with his mighty weapon Gandiva, and above all the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas. So all these people are supporting Yudhishthira, and still terrible things have happened. O king, no one can know the plan of the Lord, Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. So this is a verse, it's a paraphrase of a verse, and we'll get to that. Although a Vaishnava's happiness and distress are felt as pleasure and pain, just like ordinary karmic reactions, they are different in a significant sense. Material happiness and distress arising from karma leave a subtle residue. What's the subtle residue? Kuta. You see, the tendency or the attraction to sin. After all, the positive and negative karmas are over, and one dies, they take into the next life the kuta, the tendency to be attracted to material sense gratification. Such enjoyment and suffering tend toward degradation and increase the danger of falling into hellish oblivion. That's that subtle residue. What does he call the subtle residue, the kuta? The seed of future entanglement. Such enjoyment and suffering tend toward degradation and increase the danger of falling into hellish oblivion. Happiness and distress generated from the Supreme Lord's desires, however, leave no trace after their immediate purpose has been served. In other words, by not freaking out like that gentleman in Maharashtra, the shop owner in Maharashtra, but understanding that this is part of the Lord's plan, and it will be revealed as time goes on. So one should not be disturbed by the interruption of an earthquake that destroys your business or your house or kills some of your family members or whatever. I mean, those are not nice things, but it could not have happened without the sanction of the Lord, because He's the controller of everything. So there's some plan. So if we persevere, even in the worst tragedies, without turning against the Lord and maintaining our faith and becoming more serious about Krishna consciousness, which is the purpose, then, as it says here, there will be no trace of this kuta after that. This tendency to be attracted to sense gratification, or as he explains it here, the seed of future entanglement. Moreover, the Vaishnava who enjoys such reciprocation with the Lord is in no danger of falling down into nescience or ignorance. As Yamaraja, the Lord of Death and the judge of all departed souls, declares, Jivava Bhakti Bhagavan Gunanima Deyam Chetas Chanas Maratitach Charan Aravindam, and so forth. Krishnasya no namati yachchira ekadapi tan ana yadvam asato krita vishnu krityan. My dear servants, please bring me only those sinful persons who do not use their tongues to chant the holy name and qualities of Krishna, whose hearts do not remember the lotus feet of Krishna even once, and whose heads do not bow down even once before Lord Krishna. Send me those who do not perform their duties toward Vishnu, which are the only duties in human life. Bring me all such fools and rascals. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.29. Yes, sometimes someone will call me up, and I always say, Hare Krishna, this is Hari Vilasdas, how can I help you? They say, yeah, well, I want to know if I could do this. And then later on I say, Hare Krishna. They say, yeah, thanks a lot, bye-bye. They never say Hare Krishna. And then other good people, I say, Hare Krishna. I said, oh, Jai Shri Krishna, oh, Hare Krishna. They start with Jai Shri Krishna because they're Gujarati, right? And they say, oh, Hare Krishna, yes. But some people, they say, oh, yeah, okay, fine. Well, anyway, I want to, and then at the end, I say, Hare Krishna. Yeah, thanks, bye-bye. They never say Hare Krishna. So Yamaraj is waiting for them. Those are his best customers. The beloved devotees of the Lord do not regard as very troublesome the suffering He imposes on them. Indeed, they find that in the end it gives rise to unlimited pleasure, just as a stinging ointment applied by a physician cures his patient's infected eye. So what is that stinging ointment? Well, in Ayurveda, they make a water solution, or what's called a maceration of triphala in water. And then they apply the water to their eye, but it stings because it's highly acidic, right? Because the triphala are all fruits. So at first it burns the eye, but then the eye clears up. If you have any infection, it goes away. So, therefore it says, in addition, suffering helps protect the confidentiality of devotional service by discouraging intrusions by the faithless. That's a big point. Just like that, the people who opened their 7-Eleven in West Seattle, they were faithless people. But they learn, I explained yesterday, Krishna teaches by two ways. One, by the suffering caused by Maya, and two, by his incarnations that come to spread Krishna consciousness. And it also increases the eagerness with which the devotees call upon the Lord to appear. If the devotees of Lord Vishnu were complacently happy all the time, he would never have a reason to appear in this world, as Krishna, Rama, Nrsimha, and so on. As Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Paritrayam sadhunam vinasaya chadushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So he's saying if everyone was happy and everything's going fine and there's no problems at all, then there's no reason for him to appear. But it's when the devotees are in trouble and the demons have taken the advantage that he will appear to reestablish the principles of religion, deliver the devotees, and annihilate the demons like he did in World War II and World War I and Korean War and the Iraq War and the Syrian War and this thing and that thing. He's eliminating, diminishing the number of Rakshasas or demons. He brings them together. They clash and they kill each other, and it lightens the burden of the earth. So all these wars are arranged by Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti here counters a possible objection. What fault would there be in God's incarnating for some other reason than to deliver saintly persons from suffering? The learned Acharya responds, yes, my dear brother, this makes good sense, but you are not expert in understanding spiritual moods. Please listen. It is at night that the sunrise becomes attractive. During the hot summer, that cold water gives comfort, and during the cold winter months, that warm water is pleasing. Lamplight appears attractive in darkness, not in the glaring light of day. And when one is distressed by hunger, food tastes especially good. That's a quote. Then it continues. In other words, to strengthen his devotee's mood of dependence on him, on Krishna, and longing for him, the Lord arranges for his devotees to go through some suffering. And when he appears in order to deliver them, their gratitude and transcendental pleasure are boundless. Wow, what a purport. This explains, but there's more. There's more. This verse, it's an important verse, 4:22-36 says, we accept as blessings different states of higher life, distinguishing them from lower states of life. But we should know that such distinctions exist only in relation to the interchange of the modes of material nature. Actually, these states of life have no permanent existence, for all of them will be destroyed by the supreme controller. In Prabhupada's purport, he says, in our material existence, we accept a higher form of life as a blessing and a lower form as a curse. This distinction of higher and lower only exists as long as the different material qualities or gunas interact. In other words, by our good activities, we are elevated to the higher planetary systems or to a higher standard of life, meaning good education, beautiful body, etc. These are the results of pious activities. Similarly, by impious activities, we remain illiterate, get ugly bodies, a poor standard of living, etc. But all these different states of life are under the laws of material nature through the interaction of the qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. However, all these qualities will cease to act at the time of the dissolution of the entire cosmic manifestation. The Lord therefore says in Bhagavad Gita 8:16, Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartina rijana. Mama Petyuta Konteya Punarjanma Navidyate. Bhagavad Gita 8:16. Even though we elevate ourselves to the highest planetary system by the scientific advancement of knowledge, by material science. So we get nice houses, nice cars, nice washing machine, nice dryer, nice kitchen, nice bathroom, nice toilet, nice this, nice that. So you get a better standard of life by scientific advancement of knowledge, or by the religious principles of life, meaning karma kanda, doing different pujas for material advancement. So it says, similarly, by impious activities, we remain illiterate, get ugly bodies, a poor standard of living, etc. But all these different states of life are under the laws of material nature, and through the interaction of the qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Even though we elevate ourselves to the highest planetary system by the scientific advancement of knowledge, or by the religious principles of life, a great sacrifices and fruitive activities, at the time of dissolution, all these higher planetary systems and life on them will be destroyed, even Brahma Loka. In this verse, the words Isa vidvam sita sisam indicate that all such blessings will be destroyed by the Supreme Controller. We will not be protected. Our bodies, either in this planet or in another planet, will be destroyed, and again, we will have to remain for millions of years in an unconscious state within the body of Mahavishnu. And again, when the creation is manifested, we have to take birth in different species of life and begin our activities. Therefore, we should not be satisfied simply by promotion to the higher planetary systems. We should try to get out of the material cosmic manifestation. Go to the spiritual world and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is our highest achievement. We should not be attracted by anything material, higher or lower, but should consider them all on the same level. Our real engagement should be in inquiring about the real purpose of life and rendering devotional service to the Lord. Thus, we will be eternally blessed in our spiritual activities, full of knowledge and bliss. Regulated human civilization promotes dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. In human society, there must be religion. Without religion, human society is only animal society. Economic development and sense gratification must be based on religious principles. When religion, economic development, and sense gratification are adjusted, liberation from this material birth, death, old age, and disease is assured. So, this is the silver lining right here. He's not saying, be negative, or completely, don't try, and don't get married, don't have a house, don't have a car, don't have a toilet, you just poop outside, and live like a hippie. No, that's not what he's saying here. He's saying we have to adjust the dharma, artha, kama, moksha. How do you adjust that? Well, that's what we're doing in the temple. We're adjusting the dharma, artha, kama, moksha to be God-centered, Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one can go through, and the example is Srila Prabhupada. He was a grihasta. He had children. He had 5 kids. He had a business. But it's not that everything was rosy. His business failed, right? And some of his kids turned against him. Not against him, but against ISKCON. But that's like being against him also. But he was not, daunted by it. He was not affected by it. And he also helped his family. He had one son who was a very good son. I think his name was Vrindavan Chandra. Very nice man. I met him several times. He had a and one of his daughters got married to a devotee and lived in Mayapur, but she died. She drowned in a flood in Mayapur. So you see this tragedy all over the place. Everyone, Prabhupada, he almost died coming to the United States due to 2 heart attacks. When he first took sannyas, he was gored by a bull in Vrindavan, almost killed him. He was in the hospital. The bull, punctured him, his ribs or his stomach with his horns. Because you have these big bulls in India. They pull the carts and they do a lot of heavy work. Sometimes they get really, if they're not neutered, if they're not oxen. The oxen is a neutered bull. If they're not neutered, they can go into heat, and they're extremely dangerous, and they're extremely powerful. Anyway, Prabhupada himself had a lot of difficulties, but he persevered. So regulated human civilization promotes dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. In human society, there must be religion. Without religion, human society is only animal society. Economic development and sense gratification must be based on religious principles. When religion, economic development, and sense gratification are adjusted, liberation from this material birth, death, old age, and disease are assured. Just like it says, Dharma viruddho bhutesu kamosmi bharatarsava. So in other words, one can engage in sex life, but only for procreation. So that's the adjustment. That's one example of the adjustment. And Krishna says that then it's Krishna conscious. Then one can offer that to me. However, there's no question, in the present age of Kali, there's no question of religion and liberation. People have taken interest only in economic development and sense gratification. Therefore, despite sufficient economic development all over the world, dealings in human society have become almost animalistic. When everything becomes grossly animalistic, dissolution takes place. COVID takes place. Earthquakes take place. Floods take place. Windstorms take place. So many things take place. Economic downturn takes place. This dissolution is to be accepted as Isha Vidvamsitasisam. The Lord's so-called blessings of economic development and sense gratification will be conclusively dissolved by destruction. At the end of this Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as the incarnation of Kalki, and his only business will be to kill all human beings on the surface of the globe, except devotees. After that killing, another golden age will begin. We should therefore know that our material activities are just like childish play. Children may play on the beach, and father will sit and watch this childish play. The construction of buildings with sand, or sand castles, and construction of walls, and so many things. But finally the father will ask the children to come home. Then everything is destroyed. When the high tide comes in, it destroys all those constructions that were made by the kids with sand. Persons who are too much addicted to childish activities of economic development and sense gratification are sometimes especially favored by the Lord when he destroys their construction of these things. It is said by the Lord, Yasyaham anugrinami hadisita danam sanai. The Lord told Yudhishthira Maharaj that his special favor is shown to his devotee when he takes away all the devotee's material opulences. Generally, therefore, it is experienced that Vaishnavas are not very opulent in the material sense. When a Vaishnava, a pure devotee, tries to be material opulent and at the same time desires to serve the Supreme Lord, his devotional service is checked. The Lord, in order to show him a special favor, destroys his so-called economic development and material opulences. Thus, the devotee, being frustrated in his repeated attempts at economic development, ultimately takes solid shelter under the lotus feet of the Lord. So you can see what the devotees did. That verse in 1088.8, that's in the part of the Bhagavatam that Prabhupada did not finish, so his disciples finished it. But you can see They finished it by including this whole part of the purport in the fourth canto, purport that Prabhupada has written, and rightfully so. This kind of action may be accepted as isa vidvam sitasisam, whereby the Lord destroys one's material opulences but enriches one in spiritual understanding. In the course of our preaching work, we sometimes see that materialistic persons come to us and offer their obeisances to take blessings, which means such persons are no longer, which means they want more and more material opulences. If such material opulences are checked, such persons no longer interested in offering obeisances are no longer interested in offering obeisances to the devotees. Such materialistic persons are always concerned about their economic development. They offer obeisances to saintly persons or the Supreme Lord and give something in charity for preaching work with the view that they will be rewarded with further economic development. However, when one is sincere in his devotional service, the Lord obliges the devotee to give up his material development and completely surrender unto him, because the Lord does not give blessings of material opulence to his devotee. People are afraid of worshiping Lord Vishnu because they see that the Vaishnavas, who are worshippers of Lord Vishnu, are poor in superficial material opulences. Such materialistic persons, however, get immense opportunity for economic development by worshiping Lord Shiva, for Lord Shiva is the husband of the goddess Durga. Now, what's very interesting here, and this is what you usually don't hear, Shiva doesn't give his wife Durga anything. She doesn't have a house. She doesn't have a car. She doesn't have a credit card. She doesn't have a washing machine. She doesn't have a dryer. She doesn't have anything. She doesn't even have a toilet. And she is the wife of Shiva who's being worshipped for material opulence. But Shiva himself doesn't have any of these things. Of course, if he wanted to, he could have them. But he lives always very austerely. And his wife is forced to live austerely also. Now, that's an anomaly. That shouldn't be, right? If he's being worshipped for opulence, he should be opulent. But he has a different opulence. His opulence is he's always meditating on who? Krishna. You see, that's his opulence. And for Lord Shiva is the husband of goddess Durga, the proprietor of this universe. By the grace, so she's in a sense the director of the universe, or she's the warden of the prison house of the universe. By the grace of Lord Shiva, a devotee gets the opportunity to be blessed by the goddess Durga. Ravana, for example, was a great worshipper of the devotee of Lord Shiva, and in return he got all blessings of goddess Durga. So much so that his whole kingdom was constructed of golden buildings. In Brazil, in this present age, huge quantities of gold have been found, and from historical references in the Puranas, we can guess safely that this was Ravana's kingdom. This kingdom was, however, destroyed by Lord Ramachandra. While Ravana built a tunnel from Sri Lanka to Brazil to collect a lot of gold to build his golden city, Lanka. By studying such incidents, like the story of Ravana and Ramachandra, we can understand the full meaning of Isa Vidvam Sitasisam. That is, Lord Rama lost everything, lost his kingdom. He lost everything, and he lived in the jungle for 14 years, right? But that did not in any way hinder him. The Lord does not bestow material blessings upon the devotees, for they may be entrapped again in the material world by continuous birth, death, old age, and disease. Due to the materialistic opulences, persons like Ravana became puffed up for sense gratification. Ravana even dared kidnap Sita, who was both the wife of Lord Ramachandra and the goddess of fortune, thinking that he would be able to enjoy the pleasure potency of the Lord. But actually, by such actions, Ravana became Vidvamsita, or ruined. At the present moment, human civilization is too much attached to economic development and sense gratification, and is therefore nearing the path of COVID-19, COVID-24, COVID-36, COVID-99. They're coming down the pike. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. It's a song people used to sing. The cowboys used to sing. Well, this is an amazing purport by Prabhupada. And fortunately, his disciples copied most of it, and rightfully so. Okay, this is a big subject. I'm going to stop. There's more, but I'm going to stop, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Are there any questions? So, don't be afraid. If you are materially opulent, and all of us are materially opulent, that's why we came to America, the United States, then we should live very simply and use all that opulence in the service of the Lord. But at the same time, cultivate detachment. Just like coming to the class every morning, you're cultivating detachment rather than sleeping in like so many people are doing, so many initiated devotees are doing. Yet you're taking the trouble to come and hear. And by hearing, we can make the adjustment of the opulence and good times and everything by living very, very simply and using those blessings, material blessings, in the service of Krishna and not being contaminated by it by developing a false ego, you see. Because one time I made up a proverb. You will not be known for what you saved, but for what you gave. Yeah, you never heard that because I made that one up. Yes, but gave to Krishna, of course, not to the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.